Amara couldn't stop smiling as she adjusted her graduation gown. It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, the day she finally made her parents proud. Her name had been called on stage, cameras flashed, and her friends cheered as she held her degree high. All she could think about was showing it to her father. But as she walked toward the house, still wearing her cap, she saw him standing by the gate. Mr. Okafor's face looked dark, almost like thunder. At first, she thought he was emotional, maybe even proud. But then she saw his eyes, cold, angry. Before she could speak, he shouted, his voice loud enough for the whole street to hear. You are not my daughter. Everything froze. Neighbors turned their heads. Her classmates, who had followed her to take pictures, stood in shock. Amara laughed nervously, thinking it was some terrible joke. Daddy, what are you saying? But he didn't stop. He threw her graduation bag onto the ground, the certificate falling out and landing in the dirt. Leave my house, he said, his voice shaking with rage. You don't belong here. You never did. Tears filled Amara's eyes. Please, Daddy, what did I do? Her mother stood behind him, silent, her hands trembling. She didn't move, didn't speak. Go, he yelled again. Before I lose my mind completely. Amara could feel everyone's eyes on her. The neighbors whispering, the kids filming with their phones. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. She bent down, picked up her certificate, now stained with dust, and clutched it to her chest. Her sandals broke as she stepped back. She kicked them off and walked away barefoot, her vision blurred by tears. The graduation gown felt heavy now, like a weight she couldn't carry. Behind her, she could still hear the murmurs. What happened? Why would he say that? Poor girl. The sun was setting, the road ahead empty. She didn't know where she was going, only that she couldn't go home again. Just as she reached the main road, a black car slowed beside her. The tinted window rolled down, and a familiar voice called softly, Amara? She froze. It was Toby, her old classmate, the one who always used to help her with notes in class. He looked at her with shock and concern. Amara, what happened to you? Why are you crying? She tried to speak, but no words came out. Her voice was trapped somewhere between pain and disbelief. Toby opened the car door. Get in, he said gently. Please. Amara looked back one last time at the house that was no longer hers. Then she took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and stepped into the car, not knowing that this was the moment her whole life was about to change. Her father's rules were always impossible to follow. Amara grew up in a house where everything had to be perfect. Her clothes, her grades, her manners, even the way she spoke. No friends after school, her father used to say. No parties, no distractions, only results. When she was little, she thought it was normal. She believed strict parents meant they loved you. But as she grew older, she realized his love had conditions. Every time she brought home a prize or got the top score in class, he would smile, but only for a moment. If she came second, his face would turn to stone. Her mother never said much. She was soft-spoken and always careful around him. When Amara cried, her mother would hug her quietly and whisper, "Just do your best, my dear. He means well." But Amara wasn't sure he did. She remembered one night clearly. She had stayed up studying for her exams. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep. When her father walked into her room and saw her lying on the bed for a short break, he snapped, "Lazy girl. You think success comes from sleeping?" She didn't answer. She just sat up and went back to reading, even though her vision was blurry with tears. Amara learned early that peace in the house depended on her performance. Her father's approval was like sunshine, warm but rare. Every smile felt like something she had to earn. Even then, there were strange moments she didn't understand. Times when she would walk into a room and find her parents whispering, their voices low and tense. When she asked what was wrong, her father would glare at her and say, "Children shouldn't listen to adult matters." And her mother would quickly change the topic. Still, Amara kept trying. She took extra classes, got scholarships, and even worked part-time in the evenings to help pay her tuition. While other girls went out or posted photos from parties, Amara was usually at the library or cleaning up at home. Her world was small, built on fear, responsibility, and the endless need to prove herself. And now, on the day she was supposed to be celebrated, all of that effort had shattered in seconds. She sat quietly in the back seat of Toby's car, holding her crumpled graduation certificate. Her hands were still shaking. She didn't know where to look. Toby glanced at her from the driver's seat. Amara, I can't believe what I just saw, he said softly. Why would your father do that? She didn't answer. Her throat felt dry. She wanted to disappear. I'll take you home, he said, trying to sound calm. She shook her head quickly. No, please don't. I can't go back there. Then where? He asked. She didn't know. The truth was, she had nowhere to go. Toby came from a rich family. Everyone at school knew it. His parents owned a company, and he never had to worry about money. But he was never arrogant. He was kind, patient, the kind of person who helped others without expecting anything. Now he looked at her with real worry. Amara, you can stay somewhere safe. I'll help you. Please don't sit there like this. But she couldn't accept it. Her pride wouldn't let her. No, she said quietly. I'll figure it out. Figure it out how? He asked gently. You're barefoot, Amara. She looked down and saw her feet, dirty and bruised. Her gown was torn at the edge. The pain hit her again, not just the physical kind, but the kind that sinks deep inside and doesn't leave. She turned her face toward the window. Outside, the city lights were bright, but everything felt cold. Toby sighed. At least let me take you somewhere for the night. You can think clearly tomorrow. Amara didn't respond for a long time. Finally, she nodded. Just one small nod. She was too tired to argue. As the car moved through the quiet streets, she thought back to her childhood again, to the little girl who used to wait by the window for her father to come home, just to hear him say, I'm proud of you. She realized now that he might never have meant it. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. For the first time, she wasn't trying to be the perfect daughter. She was just a girl who had lost everything. Her home, her pride, and the only version of love she had ever known. And somewhere deep inside, a question began to grow, one she couldn't ignore anymore. If he wasn't proud of me, then who am I trying to be? That night, Amara hid at Aunt Kemi's house. It was a small, quiet home on the edge of town. The kind of place no one would think to look for her. Aunt Kemi gave her a warm blanket, some food, and told her to rest. Amara couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep either. Her mind kept replaying the scene at the gate, her father's angry face, the sound of her certificate hitting the ground, the whispers of the neighbors. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard his voice shouting, You're not my daughter. She sat on the couch, hugging her knees, staring into the dark. A few hours later, she heard a soft knock at the door. Aunt Kemi went to open it and froze. It's your mother, she whispered. Amara's heart began to pound. Her mother walked in, her eyes red from crying. Her scarf loosely wrapped around her head. She looked smaller somehow, fragile. Amara, her mother said in a shaky voice. My baby. Amara didn't move. She just looked at her, hurt and confused. Why did he say that? What did I do wrong? Her mother sat down beside her, trembling. She tried to hold Amara's hand, but Amara pulled back. Please listen, her mother said. There's something you don't know. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Amara frowned. What do you mean? Her mother took a deep breath, as if gathering courage. Your father, Mr. Okafor, he's not your real father. The words hung in the air, heavy and unbelievable. Amara blinked, thinking she had misheard. What? She whispered. Tears rolled down her mother's face. Before I married him, I made a mistake. I met someone. I didn't know I was pregnant until after your father and I were engaged. He found out years later. Amara stared at her in silence. Her whole body felt numb. So all this time, she finally said, her voice trembling, he knew? Her mother nodded slowly. Yes, he knew. But he stayed because of his pride, because he didn't want people to know. He tried to raise you as his own. But every time he looked at you, he saw that mistake. That's why he was so hard on you. That's why he changed. Amara covered her face with her hands. Her world was spinning. You both lied to me, she whispered. My whole life was a lie. Her mother reached for her again. I was trying to protect you. Please, Amara. No one can know about this. If people find out, your father's reputation will be ruined. Everything he's worked for will be gone. Amara looked up sharply. And what about me? What about everything I've lost? Her mother sobbed quietly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, my child. But please stay quiet. Let it end here. Amara stood up slowly. Her chest felt tight, like she couldn't breathe. "No, Mama," she said, her voice low but steady. "It doesn't end here. I need to know who my real father was." Her mother's eyes widened. "Amara, don't. Please leave the past alone. It will only bring more pain." But Amara wasn't listening anymore. She felt betrayed, broken, and yet, a strange spark of strength began to grow inside her. For the first time, she realized why she had always felt different, why her father's love had never felt real. She walked to the window and looked out at the quiet street. "All my life, I tried to make him proud," she said softly. "But how could I, when I was never really his?" Her mother cried harder. "I only wanted to protect you." Amara turned to her. "Then let me protect myself now." That night, after her mother left, Amara sat awake till dawn. The truth had shattered her world, but it also gave her a new purpose. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and whispered to herself, "I will find him. My real father. I deserve to know where I come from." For the first time, her pain wasn't just pain, it was the beginning of something new. Amara began her search, but every step felt like walking through a storm. She didn't know where to start. Her mother refused to talk, her father had thrown her out, and the few relatives she reached out to all said the same thing. "Forget it, Amara. Some truths are better left alone." But she couldn't forget. She needed answers. Days turned into weeks. She applied for jobs, hoping to at least earn some money while she searched. But every interview ended the same way. "You're a bright girl," one manager said politely. "But we need someone with family references." Family references. The words burned like fire. Another company turned her down after checking her background. One of the interviewers whispered, "Isn't she the one Mr. Okafor threw out? I heard she's not even his real daughter." Amara walked home with her head down, her heart heavy with shame. She hated how people looked at her now, like she was broken, unworthy, a name in someone's gossip. Toby stayed close through it all. He called often, asking if she had eaten, if she was okay, if she needed help. He offered her a small part-time job at his family's firm, answering phones, helping with files. At first she refused. Her pride wouldn't let her accept help. But when her rent was due and she had no other options, she finally said yes. Toby never made her feel small. He treated her like she mattered, like she was still the same Amara he'd known in school. Hardworking, intelligent, full of dreams. Sometimes he'd take her out for coffee after work. "You don't deserve what happened," he told her one evening. "Your father was wrong. None of this is your fault." But Amara only looked down. "It doesn't matter. People believe what they want to believe." Rumors had spread quickly. People in the neighborhood called her the bastard child. Some even said her mother had ruined Mr. Okafor's life. Amara stopped going to church because of the stares and whispers. She walked with her head high, but inside, she was breaking. One afternoon, when she visited Aunt Kemi, the older woman sat her down and sighed deeply. "Amara," she said gently, "there's something I need to tell you. You've suffered enough living in confusion." Amara looked up, afraid but ready. "Please just tell me the truth." Aunt Kemi nodded slowly. "Your real father was a good man, a lawyer. His name was Barrister Adewale." Amara's eyes widened. "A lawyer?" "Yes," Aunt Kemi said. "He was brilliant, respected and kind. But he never knew about you. Your mother kept it a secret because she was ashamed. He died years ago in an accident. His family, they never knew he had a daughter." For a long time Amara couldn't speak. A lawyer. That explained something. The way she loved studying. The way she'd always dreamed of fighting for justice. Maybe that passion wasn't random. Maybe it was part of who she was. "Do you know where they live?" she asked quietly. Aunt Kemi nodded. "They live in Abuja. His brother is still alive. He's a judge now." Amara's heart began to race. The thought of meeting them scared her, but it also filled her with hope. Maybe they could tell her more about her father. Maybe she could finally belong somewhere. But her journey wouldn't be easy. As she prepared to travel, she heard news about Mr. Okafor. His business was in trouble. Contracts were falling through, clients leaving. Some people whispered that it was karma. Others said it was guilt eating him alive. Amara didn't know what to feel. Part of her pitied him, but another part remembered the humiliation he caused her. The way he screamed, "You're not my daughter," in front of everyone. Still, she couldn't hate him completely. Even though he had broken her, a small part of her heart still ached for the man she once called father. Toby noticed the sadness in her eyes one evening. "You've been quiet lately," he said. "I found out who my real father was," she replied softly. Toby looked surprised. "Really?" Amara nodded. "He's dead. But I have family, his brother a judge. I want to meet them." "That's a big step," Toby said carefully. "Are you sure you're ready?" "I have to be," she said. "I've lived my whole life in someone else's shadow. It's time to know where I truly belong." The next week, Amara packed her few belongings. Aunt Kemi gave her a small envelope with some money and whispered, "Your mother loves you, even if she couldn't protect you. Go and find your truth, my dear." Amara hugged her tightly. "Thank you, Auntie. I will." Before she left, she walked past her old street one last time. The gate where her father had screamed at her stood closed, quiet, and empty. She saw the flowers her mother once planted, now dry and dying. She whispered softly, "Goodbye." As the bus drove away, Amara stared out the window. The city she had known all her life grew smaller behind her. Ahead of her lay new questions, new fears, and maybe a new beginning. Inside her heart, anger still lived. So did pain. But beneath it all, something stronger had started to grow. A quiet fire, a feeling she hadn't known before. It was the beginning of her power. For the first time, Amara wasn't running from her past. She was walking toward her truth. Amara met her late father's brother, Judge Adewale, in a large house surrounded by tall trees and quiet air. Her heart was beating fast as she waited at the gate, clutching the letter Aunt Kemi had given her. The guard led her in, and she found herself standing in front of a tall man with kind but sharp eyes, the kind that noticed everything. He studied her for a long moment. Then in a calm voice he said, "You have his eyes." Amara blinked. "Whose?" He smiled gently. "My brother's." Adewale. Her chest tightened. She had imagined this moment many times, but hearing his name said aloud, her father's name, made her throat ache. They sat down in his study. Books lined the walls, and family photos filled the shelves. Amara looked at them quietly, wondering which of those smiles might have looked like hers. She handed him the letter from Aunt Kemi. He read it carefully, then placed it on the table and looked up at her again. "So it's true," he said softly. "My brother had a daughter, and we never knew." Amara nodded slowly. "I didn't know either until a few weeks ago." He sighed deeply. "Your father was a good man, Amara. If he had known about you, he would have loved you with his whole heart." Tears filled her eyes. "I wish I had known him." "I can't change the past," Judge Adewale said gently, "but I can make sure you know where you come from." He insisted on doing a DNA test, not because he doubted her, but to make it official. A week later, the results came back, 99.9% match. She was truly his brother's daughter. The judge hugged her tightly, and for the first time in her life, Amara felt something she had always wanted, belonging. He invited her to stay with his family for a while. His wife welcomed her warmly, and his children treated her like one of their own. Slowly, the dark clouds around her heart began to lift. She enrolled in a short course to prepare for law school, something she had always dreamed of. Each night, she'd sit on the balcony, looking at the stars and whisper, "I found you, Papa." For the first time, peace began to grow inside her. But peace never lasts long when the past hasn't truly ended. One afternoon, as she was returning from class, she saw a familiar car parked outside the gate, old, dusty, and painfully familiar. Mr. Okafor stepped out. He looked nothing like the proud man who once ruled his house with anger. His hair was grayer, his face thinner, his eyes sunken and tired. He walked slowly toward her, his hands trembling. "Amara," he began, his voice low and cracked. She froze. Her heart raced, but not from fear this time. From power. He swallowed hard. "Please don't walk away. I came to talk." Amara said nothing. She simply crossed her arms and waited. "I lost everything," he said. "My business, my reputation. Even your mother. She left me. I've had time to think about what I did to you. About what I said that day." Her eyes filled with unshed tears, but she kept her face calm. "I was wrong," he continued. "I let pride destroy me. I found out the truth years ago. That you weren't mine. I couldn't handle the shame. So instead of facing it, I took it out on you. Every time I looked at you, I saw my weakness. But the truth is," his voice broke, You were never the mistake. I was. Amara's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, to cry, to ask why. But she didn't. She had no more questions, only truth. Do you want forgiveness? She asked quietly. He looked at her, desperate. Yes. I have nothing left, Amara. Not money, not peace, only regret. She stepped closer, her voice steady. You broke me the day you called me nothing. You threw away my dreams, my dignity, everything I worked for, just to protect your pride. Mr. Okafor dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. I know. I am sorry. I wish I could take it back. Amara stared at him for a long moment. The man who had once looked untouchable now looked small, broken, human. I used to need your approval, she said softly. But not anymore. I know who I am now. I know where I come from. And I forgive you, not for you but for me. He looked up in surprise. She continued. I forgive you because I refuse to carry your shame any longer. He nodded slowly, crying harder. You're stronger than I ever was. Amara took a step back. Goodbye, Mr. Okafor. He looked at her, not as a father, not as a man full of power, but as someone who had finally lost everything that truly mattered. As he turned to leave, Amara felt the last piece of her old life fall away. The pain, the confusion, the guilt, it all drifted from her like dust in the wind. She stood tall, the sun shining behind her, and whispered to herself, I'm free. And for the first time, she truly meant it. Amara starts law school with her uncle's support. Life feels new, calm, and finally hers to shape. For the first time in years, she walks into a classroom without fear of someone judging her for her past. Her uncle, the judge, believes in her completely. He tells her, you have a strong mind, Amara. Use it to make things right, not to get even. Toby visits sometimes, bringing her snacks and notes. His kindness hasn't changed, but Amara keeps her focus on her studies. She wants to stand on her own feet before thinking about love again. Every case she studies, every page she reads, reminds her of the pain her family caused, and how much she wants to protect others from feeling powerless. Her mother finally gathers the courage to leave Mr. Okafor. She moves in with Aunt Kemi and starts her own small business. She calls Amara one evening, her voice soft but strong. I should have spoken up years ago, she says. But I'm proud of you, my child. Amara feels tears in her eyes but smiles. We're both free now, Mama. Mr. Okafor tries to reach out, sending letters through relatives, but Amara doesn't respond right away. She's not bitter anymore, just careful. Months later, after passing her first big exam, she finally sends him a photo of her new student ID. The name shines clearly, Amara Justice Okafor, by choice. She writes only one line under it. You taught me what pain looks like. Now I'll spend my life fighting against it. Her uncle sees the message and nods proudly. Justice isn't about revenge, he says. It's about balance. And you, Amara, have found yours. Amara walks through the campus courtyard that evening, feeling the warm sunset on her face. For the first time in her life, she doesn't feel like someone's secret or someone's mistake. She feels whole, strong, loved, and free. Graduation again, this time from law school. Amara stands tall in her gown, holding her degree with steady hands. The applause around her feels softer, calmer, not like before. There's no family in the crowd, but she doesn't feel alone. She's smiling, a quiet, peaceful smile that says she made it. When the ceremony ends, she walks out of the hall into the warm sunlight. The same shiny black car waits near the gate, Toby's car, just like all those years ago. He steps out, smiling proudly. You did it, he says. She laughs softly. No, she replies, we did it. As she gets in, she takes one last look at the campus. The wind lifts her hair, and for a moment, she sees her younger self, scared, broken, barefoot, walking down that road years ago. But now, that girl has become a woman who knows her worth. Toby starts the engine. Where to, Miss Justice Okafor? He teases. Amara smiles at the horizon. Anywhere I choose. Her voice echoes softly, a calm voiceover. The day my father said I wasn't his daughter, I thought my story ended. But that was the day it truly began. The car drives away slowly, sunlight reflecting on the windshield, a symbol of freedom, peace, and new beginnings. Hi besties. Sparkling Heart, thank you so much for watching till the end. If you felt Amara's story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful life stories. See you in the next one. Bye. Waving hand sparkles.